Greetings, Rams fans. This is Steve Ivy, Crackers College Hoops. Welcome you to the latest, my latest video, Monday morning cup of coffee. This is something I'm going to try and do every Monday, God willing, as schedule permits. Just on a regular, I'd like to keep going, just like I did for the longest time when I was writing on my WordPress website, and then when I did my podcast. So we're going to keep it going. And this is a video that, as I said, I'll do regularly. Today's video won't be, I don't think, as long as some of the others. I won't be doing any of the previews of the players out of the portal like I did. I finished up those in the shows last week and the videos last week. I still will do something on the new freshman class, but we're not ready to do that. I want to get a look at them in practice. Practice starts a week from Monday or Tuesday, so coming up soon, but not ready to do that. And then obviously we'll talk about the holdovers as well, the four players who are coming back in the program from the successful NCAA tournament 2023-24 team. So what I want to do today, I'm gonna talk, just give some overall impressions of the Rocky Mountain Showdown. We'll spend some time giving you an update on, had a chance to touch bases with the CSU basketball program at a tailgate, including, and I'll give you a little insight maybe into 2025 recruit Ian Inman, a 6'5" guard out of Woodlands, Texas, who was on a visit. I heard some stuff, and maybe it'll be of interest to you. Maybe it won't, but it may be a little bit of insight for you. And then I want to talk about Gonzaga to the Pac-12 and whether that's a reality, whether that's a pipe dream, whether that's a absolute no deal. So anyway, let's get started. Let's talk about. I want to talk about the Rocky Mountain Showdown, and I am not going to spend any time talking about the game itself. It was disappointing. I will say that. I had hoped for more. I thought CSU was going to win the game, to be honest with you. But that being said, I don't want to spend time on it because there's plenty of good people that have covered it. Kevin Lytle did a great job in the Colorado this morning. Brady Hull will do a great job on his radio show today. And he's been calling for a CSU win for a month, and so it could be an interesting radio show listening to the kind of gas he might be getting. But I also want to call out Justin Michael who did his video on Sunday on DNVR Rams talking about the game, and I think that was about as good as it's going to get. I think he captured it in a very intelligent way. Unemotional. I'm afraid I'd get a little too emotional if I was to talk about things. If you saw some of the texts that go back and forth between us during games, they're pretty emotional. Justin did a great job, and I would encourage you to take a listen to it. But I did want to talk about the experience, because this is the first game I went to this year. I usually go to a few games every year. I didn't go to the UNC game last week, but I did want to go see the CSU game. It's a game I've been to several times down in Boulder. I've been to, I think, almost all the games that have been played in Denver in Mile High. The last time I saw CSU play CU in Fort Collins was in 1988. I think my son was 4 years old. I took him to the game. I still remember him being a Buff fan back then. He probably doesn't remember it, but he was a Buff fan. And at one point, I think it was about the second quarter, he turned to me and said, the Buffs are really struggling, Dad. They need to get an interception. And about 2 plays later, they had a pick six, turned the game around. They ended up winning it late. I think it was a Mike Pritchard short touchdown pass in the end zone, but it was a great game and a great crowd in Hughes Stadium. I missed the 1996 game. I had tickets, I had season tickets, but I sent my son with his soccer coach. My sister and brother-in-law were visiting from Massachusetts, and family always comes first before any kind of game. So I skipped it. They went. So this was the first time for me in 36 years in Fort Collins, and I was really, really looking forward to it. So it was a little bit of a disappointment, but I got to tell you, the scene at the game, this was as good an experience as I can remember having at any football game, certainly at CSU, and maybe in many of the places I've been to. it started. I don't drive. I don't park. I do. I mean, I drive, but I don't drive to the games at the Canvas Stadium. I take the bus. I take the Max bus, and it's a great deal. You just park, hop on the bus for free. People going to the game. You can chat with them, have fun. It's relaxing. You can walk to the stadium, walk to the tailgates. And so I got there probably about 2:00 in the afternoon, about 3.5 hours before the game time, and walked over. And I wanted to make sure I touched bases with Brady Hull, who was broadcasting a pregame show from 12 to 3 with Mike Sanford, former CSU assistant coach, offensive coordinator, and then later acting coach before Prime came in. So anyway, it was nice to introduce myself to him, nice to catch up with Brady. They had a few CSU basketball players on, including men's basketball player Kyan Evans, and they had Hannah Ronsek, and I can't remember the other Hannah Swainsom or something like that. But he had them on the radio. It was nice to hear them as well. Anyway, then wandered over the tailgates, caught up with my friend Mike Rowe, caught up with Joel Cantalasa, the dynamic duo from RamNation.com, and hung out with those guys for a little bit. Then wandered around. Of course, I had to catch the Ram Walk. It was the Ram Walk is really good. I mean, it's something. You get the band marching through, playing the fight song, team following behind them. I have video of it. I didn't want to bore you with the video of it. Someday I may pull it out. I may post it on social media at some point too. But right now, I didn't want to spend too much time on that. But did the Ram Walk, and then I wandered over to the men's basketball tailgate tent, and a lot of the players and coaches were there, and I'll talk about that more in the next segment. But I did get to spend time with them, and that's where I got a lot of insight, got a chance to catch up with a lot of people. From there, I went into the stadium. I went into the stadium 90 minutes early. I do not like standing in line. You could tell there was a big crowd. You could tell that it's going to be kind of crazy getting in, and I don't like getting in late, and I don't like standing in crowds. So I went in at 90 minutes, and I was amazed to see the student section was already filled 90 minutes prior to the game, and that was great. That was fantastic. It covered, basically the whole lower level on the east side, and curled into a little bit of the south side as well. That's where their seats are, and they were ready to go, and that was fun to see. And players came out for warmups and stuff, and then it was time for the pregame festivities. And I got to tell you, they did it right. I do want to show a few clips, and hopefully this won't bore you, but I thought this was like outstanding. Flying flags into the stadium, but parachuting them in basically. And all of a sudden you saw parachutes way up in the sky. It was hard for me to capture them in any kind of intelligent way, but I did start capturing them as they started entering the stadium. And first, let's show you the video. First, the gold parachute carrying the Colorado state flag. I'm a proud Colorado native now. I've lived here for 40 years after my 71 years of life, so I'm very excited to. Whenever time I see the Colorado flag, I just get a thrill. This was the first to land on the field. There's that. There's the gold. The way it arrived. What a way to start it off. 15 minutes before the game, followed by the national anthem, the band, players taking the field, kickoff. And it was a great way, a great energy at the start of the game. I could show you the picture I took of the scoreboard after the first quarter where CSU led 3-0. But the game proceeded, and there were lots of fun things going on during the game. I thought the DJ, having the DJ on the field during the game was good. Keeps the crowd into it. I'm not sure it's really meant for somebody like me at the age of 71, but it's good for a lot of other people. The young people like it, the students like it, and they keep them engaged with all kinds of contests and games and stuff like that. I thought it was great. I thought it was really well done. End of the third quarter, canvas chaos. Lights go out, lights flicker. With the LED lighting and the banners and it was fun. I got to tell you, it's a unique experience. The other thing that I thought was great, I've seen it in other stadiums before, but I'm glad CSU introduced it, and hopefully it's a new tradition. But I love dogs. If you know me, you know I have a golden retriever named Mookie. I've always had a golden retriever since 1983. I've had one in my house, so that's a little bit of time. We're on our fourth golden retriever. Mookie, of course, is laying by me as I do my broadcast. He's a good boy. I can look over at them right now, and he's sleeping right next to me. Anyway, they have a black lab that retrieves the kicking tee. And the joy is there's nothing to be more fun than watching a very obedient dog that does his task and does it well and does it happily with the tail wagging and wanting to go out and grab another tee. I mean, he was disappointed that there wasn't another tee on the field. I hope CSU scores a lot of points this year and kicks off a lot. It was a little disappointing to only have 3 retrievals of the kicking tee. Maybe we'll start seeing more points out of the Jay Norvell offense. Anyway, it was such a joy, and I got to give tremendous credit to new AD John Weber and his crew. Obviously, John doesn't do it himself, but as a leader, to see what's happening and the team that's doing everything on game day, it is a tremendous game day experience, and to see the crowd. It was quite something to be in that stadium, to see every seat basically taken. And when you see 41,000, just over 40,000 people, and you see the attendance there, that was something in a stadium that seats a little less than 37,000. It was a spectacular night. It was a Chamber of Commerce night. I did want to show. Let's see if I can pull this up. I'm supposed to be able to put this up in my background. And it doesn't want to do it. It doesn't want to get rid of the Moby Arena background anyway. So someday I'll show it. It was a spectacular sunset. The drone shots on CBS, if you watched on TV, I saw some of the drone shots. They showed them on the scoreboard. A spectacular night. I called it a Chamber of Commerce evening, and it really was. I don't know how to say it was anything but a perfect day. This is here we go. This is what I wanted to show. You can see the sunset. You can see the attendance record being announced on the scoreboard. There's some video I did, picture of the band doing the Ram Walk, and just a picture of the canvas chaos. So it was really something. I can't begin to tell you how much fun I had, and I don't know if I'm going to make any more games. I'm kind of busy with stuff going on, but I would encourage you to tell I'm sure you're already going. If you're following me, you're a big CSU fan. Encourage your friends. They'll have a great time. And I'll stop there. Other than to mention again, go take a look at Justin's DNVR Rams broadcast on YouTube that he did on Sunday. It was really, really well done. Let's move on. Let's go on to the get together I had with the basketball program. I want to show you I have a video I want to show you. Hopefully you'll enjoy this video. So when I first showed up, that was Nico and Amy Parsons, President Amy Parsons, chatting. I saw it from across the tent, and of course, Amy wandered away, and I wanted to touch bases with Nico, so I wandered over. And of course, the first thing I asked him is, now that you're in the Pac-12, was that you with Amy negotiating a bigger contract? And we had a good laugh over it. Nico got a very good contract in the off season, and he's very, very happy with the contract he has now. So, but he did mention that he talked to Leon Rice, and Leon Rice mentioned to him that if he has a contract that says if he got into a Power 5 conference, he got an automatic extra year extension. So now that Leon's in the Pac-12, or going to be in the Pac-12, he's kind of curious if that works. So anyway, it was a fun story. We had a great time catching up, and then I looked around. It turns out, and if you saw my last video on Thursday, I talked about 6'5" recruit Ian Inman coming in for the weekend. 6'5" out of Houston, Texas, out of Woodlands, which is a suburb of Houston. He's a very, very highly recruited player, being heavily recruited. He was down to his last 5 of Rice University, University of Colorado, Colorado State University, West Virginia, and Louisville. 5 really, really good programs. He was visiting CSU for the weekend, was there for Friday, Saturday, and I think going home on Sunday. He spent Wednesday and Thursday with CU. And I shook his hand. I said hello, and I told him I'm not allowed to spend time and talk with him because it's unclear. I think they're still relatively strict in terms of people who are perceived as boosters meeting with recruits. And so, and some of you might know the story from about 10 years ago. And it was about 10 years ago. It was right after CSU had played. It was the year after CSU played in the NCAA tournament in Louisville. They won their first round game over Missouri and played the second round game against eventual national champion Louisville. And one of the starters on that team was a 6'6" power forward named Shane Bohannon. And Shane he somehow was unhappy with Louisville after that season and was looking to transfer. And he made a lot of friends with the CSU program. I think he made good friends with Danny Bejarano back then. I can't remember if there were some of the other ones, but he actually took a visit. It was Larry Eustace was coaching, and Bohannon took a visit to CSU. And they sat him about 3 seats away from me on the aisle, just across the aisle from me at Moby Arena for a game. And I knew who he was. I recognized him. I'm a pretty good fan, And there he was. And so I went over and took a picture. I said, "Hey, so can I get a picture with you, Shane?" He goes, "Sure." And he's a great kid, really nice kid. And I got my picture taken by somebody, and I put it up on social media. And I think within about 30 minutes, I had somebody from CSU all over me telling me I was committing a huge NCAA violation for posting a recruit on social media, and they had to report it to the NCAA. Even though it was a minor violation, it would have to be reported. It made them do a lot of work, and so they were very upset with me. I didn't know. I would never do anything like that. So when I shook Ian's hand, I said, "I can't talk to you," and I walked away. But I talked with a few other people who were there, and he was having a good visit. He was having a very, very positive visit. He was hanging out with the players, and I talked to others and, found out how his visits went. And the impression I got is, so I'm doing this I'm recording this on Sunday night for putting out on Monday morning on YouTube. The impression I got is we may know something by Monday. And the impression I got was he was very, very high on CU and very, very high on CSU. And it's kind of 50-50. There's a good chance that Ian Inman is coming to CSU. So I just wanted to give you that update. It's not a done deal. It certainly is not a done deal, but he'd be a great person to have in the program. His parents were there. I shook their hands and welcomed them. Very, very nice people. They'd be a great addition to the CSU family, obviously. The one thing that I love about the CSU program is you get to know the families as well. I've gotten to know over the years way back when Tim Miles was here, getting to know the families. That's the way Tim ran his program, and Nico is very much that way. And so getting to know, the Stevens and the Roddies and the Cliffords now, and the Lakes, and I can go on and on and on. The families are fantastic. So it would be a great place for them, I'm sure. And if that's the kind of program they're looking for, that's a family-oriented program, that would be great. So anyway, that's that on Ian. I wanted to talk a little bit. I got a chance to talk with assistant coach Tim Shelton. And the one thing I wanted to bring up here, I mentioned something to Tim. Tim was a great addition to the staff last year. He came to us via Oregon State. Before that, at San Diego State as a graduate assistant. He was a 4-year player at San Diego State and brings a lot of savvy and physical toughness to his coaching in terms of coaching defense in the paint. And I happened to be watching I watched the video a couple of weeks ago of the CSU win over Virginia in the NCAA tournament. Of course, I was at the game, and you watch different things during the game. But when you watch a replay on a TV replay, some things show up. And one of the interesting things that showed up was the defense by Pat Cartier in that game was outstanding in the paint. With the way he played physically, he really clogged up the paint. And if you had looked at him the year before, Pat was not a very, very good defender of the paint. He bulked up a little bit in the offseason, got a little bit stronger, but he also learned a lot. And it was not just a physical thing with him, but it was a mental thing. And I gave Tim a lot of credit for that. And he was real appreciative of the kind words I had. I really, really love the guy. He's a great, great person to have on the staff. But sitting next to him, I also wanted to share, I got my first chance just to touch bases with new assistant coach Ken DeWeese, who came here from Wyoming. Wyoming replaced Jeff Linder as a head coach with Sundance Wicks. And he's down here now, and he's very, very excited to be here. I asked, I didn't want to get into what happened up in Laramie, because it's just not I don't think it's a wonderful thing necessarily to talk about, but he's very, very happy. He said basically he loved Laramie. He loved the community. The people were great. But he had spent 8 years with Jeff Linder, and when Jeff moved on, left Wyoming to move on as an assistant with Texas Tech, Ken said it was time for him to move on after 8 years with Linder, and he's ecstatic to be in Fort Collins and obviously looking forward to coaching the group. I asked him what his thoughts were early on and any players that stood out. And he mentioned a couple of players, I'll mention them. I talked about these guys last week, a couple of portal additions. He mentioned Ethan Morton from Purdue, and then he mentioned Jalen Crocker Johnson, who came here from Little Rock, both of whom have been very, very impressive in practice so far. So he's really, really excited about working with the program, and I've heard nothing but great things about Ken. So new addition to the staff. It was very, very much fun to meet him. I got a chance to yak with Isaiah Stevens. Isaiah was in town. He wasn't going to miss the Rocky Mountain Showdown. And so it was fun talking with him. And just to set things up, sometime in the next few weeks, I asked Isaiah if he'd be interested in coming on my YouTube channel and talking through things, what training camp is like with the Miami Heat. And he said, "What do you think?" He's very, very kind to me. He's a wonderful young man. He's always been great with me. And so we'll have Isaiah on somewhere in the next few weeks talking about what's training camp how training camp is going, what it's like, what his experiences are. And then I said, what I'd really like is when they decide to either keep you on the team or give you a two-way contract, I want to be the first person. I want to break it. And we laughed. If that happens, that would be great. If I got the scoop on that, I'd be a happy guy. But regardless, we'll have him on. We'll have a little video. We'll get together and we'll share that in a few weeks. And then there was somebody else that was there, and I want to show you a little video. Of course, they.
We got Nick Clifford about to throw a football. No,
during the tailgates. There's Nick Clifford.
Nothing but an imposter, because right here, I got a real high school quarterback.
Retired.
Right here. There he is, David Roddy. David Roddy in the flesh.
Blue Mountain State starting quarterback.
There you go.
There's David. David was in town. He might have done a little. He might have done pretty well if he was a quarterback on Saturday night. Who knows? Anyway, it was great to see him. I haven't seen David in a few years. I haven't seen him since he left CSU. I haven't been. Didn't get to any of the games down in Denver. And it was great catching up with him. He has been traded to Atlanta. He went from Memphis to Phoenix, and Phoenix really wasn't interested in him. He was a trade filler. Phoenix was looking to get older, not younger. And so he was always in the plans to move on. And he's moved on to a younger team, and he's really looking forward to the opportunity in Atlanta. And I asked him if he'd like to come on. I told him about the channel, and he said, yeah. So we'll have Roddy down somewhere on the channel down the road. We'll get Isaiah, we'll get David. And I'm really looking forward to it, to talking with those guys and getting some things going. I have some other things that I'm planning, and this may not be all that exciting to you right now. Just what I'm sharing right now, it's going to get better and better. I got some pretty fun stuff planned, and hopefully you'll enjoy those two guys as we get them engaged in the next few weeks. So let's move on. Let's talk about the last thing, and that's Gonzaga to the Pac-12. This was triggered by a tweet that I saw over it must have been on Friday, maybe Saturday morning, but it came. This is a reporter for a local station in Portland, Oregon, and she's also a voter for the AP poll in both college football and college basketball. And she said, basically, Oregon State athletic director Scott Barnes says having football is a requirement for a school to join the Pac-12 going forward. It's been real, Gonzaga. And I got to tell you, I was a little shocked to see that, only because Scott Barnes is the athletic director for Oregon State. He is not the Pac-12 commissioner. The Pac-12 commissioner is a woman named Teresa Gold. Now that 4 teams are being added to the Pac-12, all 6 of them are equally involved in decision making and led by the commissioner. So Scott Barnes saying that is an opinion. From my perspective, I don't think that's what's really going on. And I'll get into what I think. I'll get into what I've heard. I have a little bit of a bias against Scott Barnes. I'm going to be honest with you. I'll throw my hands up. Scott Barnes was the head of the NCAA basketball tournament selection committee in 2015, when the most egregious sin of all time of leaving a team out of the tournament was committed, and it was the 2015 Colorado State Rams under Larry Eustachy, finishing 1 game out of first in the Mountain West, all kinds of wins. I think they were undefeated in the non-conference, accused of having a soft schedule. They had 2 road wins at 2 tough places, New Mexico State and the University of Colorado. But Scott Barnes decided that he was not going to drive anything through the committee, because at the time he was the athletic director of Utah State. So that being said, who knows how much he is involved with it. But no matter what, I don't care if he wasn't involved with it an iota. I will always hold it against him. So anything he says now, I'm not going to believe anything that comes out of his mouth. I don't like the guy. But I also will tell you, I'm hearing something very differently. And I'm going to share that with you now. First of all, the next steps in terms of figuring out teams is, that all these teams were chosen based on, the appropriate members. It's a lot of it has to do with the fit with the other schools. And so you have like direction. John Weber talked about, innovative and nimble organizations, universities that really want to be leading edge, not just as universities, but as athletic departments. And the 4 schools that joined from the Mountain West and the 2 schools remaining from the Pac-12 are very much that way. And so when they start evaluating schools and programs to add. That's what they're looking for. And then obviously it's the media impact. They're looking at schools that they believe can help, and they work with the media partners to discuss that. As they work with, they have a lot of contacts in the media, and they will find out how people are, what they think of different schools, and that's first and foremost what they're going to add. Okay, and the odds are they are going to have football programs, but that's the first round of teams they're gonna add. But I also heard this, that as they start getting more locked in, they're going to need at least 8 teams to be able to have a conference championship. So they have to get to 8. They have to get to 8 football schools. But as they start getting to that 8 and maybe 9 and maybe even 10, the ideal number is probably 9. You play 8 games, you play all 8 teams, and then you leave room for 4 non-conference games in football. And once they get to that magic number, I heard very, very much that Gonzaga is a legitimate target for basketball only. That's what my sources say. So Scott Barnes saying that, I don't think that's quite true. I think there's truth to until they get to 8. Obviously, it's going to be football only, because they have to get there to be able to basically exist as a conference. But Gonzaga is very, very much a legitimate contender down the road to join the Pac-12, and that would be exciting. I saw something that cracked me up, and this would be amazing. There's all this speculation about the Pac-12 schools that left, wanting to maybe come back to the Pac-12. The 2 schools that are in the Bay Area, Cal and Stanford. Some people think joining the ACC, they may be very unhappy in terms of the travel and the like. I think that's a bit of a long shot, but you never know. They might find in the next year or so that it's a very, very difficult situation to manage beyond the football team, with all the other sports programs they have. Stanford, especially, with they're basically the #1 sports program in the country. For men's and women's sports. If you look overall, they really, really hit it out of the park. So we'll see what happens there with Stanford. The other one I heard, which was really, really interesting speculation, and I would love this for basketball, was the pair of USC and UCLA went into the Big Ten together. The question is how much sustainability UCLA has in the Big Ten, because they're a little bit behind on the football side, and they have a desire. I mean, if you start looking at who they want to be associated with, they like Cal Berkeley. Obviously, it's part of the UC, University of California system. They obviously like Stanford, high academics. So if you were to see some movement of Stanford and Cal, you could possibly see movement of UCLA, and that would make me the happiest person on the planet in terms of basketball, to have Colorado State University in the same conference with UCLA. Of course, it's a long shot, but I just thought I'd mention it. So anyway, that's that. That's the update on Gonzaga. I want to close, as always, with something that's near and dear to my heart. I do want to say, I have a project we're working on. I don't want to spoil the whole thing, but we're working on a project that may involve doing a video with this particular fight song. So let's kick it off. And with that, I'm going to stay for long.